Okay guys, welcome back to my kitchen. What we're going to be doing today is we're just going to do a very quick, simple, easy meal. It's a Kedgeree. It's my take on a Kedgeree, so it's not got the curry powder in because I'm not a fan of curry powder, although I do like spice. I use a different spice. So what you're going to need for one person: one egg. I use about 75 grams of rice because it's a good sized portion and I don't feel hungry after that. Probably only want about 40 grams of rice per person, unless you want a good, solid, substantial meal, then go for about 75 grams of rice per person. I'm using a brown basmati rice, just because I like the flavours that you get with that. Instead of using salmon, smoked fish, haddock or anything like that, which you see quite commonly, I'm just throwing some tuna in. It's more readily available, it's easy to get hold of as a student. You haven't got to faff around and make sure you're looking for what you're looking at, and then you don't have to worry about bones and picking it all out and everything like that. Nice and simple, straight in the pan. I'm going to use a few other veg. Excuse my language there. I'm going to use a few other bits of vegetables. I've got some broccoli and some cauliflower in the fridge. I'm just going to chop up, maybe throw a bit of carrot in there. Not sure. I'll probably just stick with the broccoli. Yeah, I'll probably just have broccoli with this and just put some green in there. Won't worry about the cauliflower. I'm just going to throw some broccoli in with it and some red onion. And we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get this started. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to get some hot water into the bottom of our saucepan. I might need a bit more than that. So I'm just going to go ahead and top that up with a little bit of hot out the tap, and we'll be okay. So the way I like to do this is get your rice in the hot water, just like that. Give it a little bit of salt. Doesn't need much salt at all. You're just doing it just so that you can lower the boiling temperature of the water. That's all it's for. We're not trying to flavour the rice with the salt at all. And then what I actually like to do is I'll put my egg in the water. That way I'm using one pan only. I'm going to hard boil the egg as well as cook the rice at the same time. So we'll get that on the heat, on a medium heat on the back of the pan. And see if I can turn this on. There we go. And we just let that sit away. That's going to sit and cook for about 10-12 minutes. In the meantime, what we're going to do is we're just going to chop up our veg to go in the pan. So I like to use something green. You can use peas, beans, runner beans or anything like that. I like to use broccoli because I'm one of those weirdos that enjoys the flavour. And it's really easy to get, especially this time of year. Just give it a good old chop up, rough chop. Doesn't need to be tiny pieces, but you're just looking for a size similar to that. I mean, you can see compared to my hands, it's not that small, it's not that big either. It's just so that these can cook through at the first stages, which I'll show you in a minute. Just like that. So put that to the side for a second, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have some onion. Need a bit of onion in there to give it some flavour. So I use red onion because I like the flavour of a red onion more than I do a white or a brown onion. So I'm just going to take off a couple of slices of that. Maybe one more. Let's just take a sliver. I don't want a huge amount. That'll do me, to be honest. Tuck that back away. Hopefully the cat didn't just get in the shot. If she did, she's going to get shot. Not literally, this country doesn't have guns available for anybody. She's just in trouble and she might not get the treats later when everybody else does. So at this stage I'm just going to roughly chop this onion up, just so that I've got some nice chunky pieces as well as a few finer pieces. This puts the flavour into it, giving it a beautiful aromatic taste to the overall dish. That'll do nicely. Right. Next part of this is we're just going to drain the tuna. I use tuna in spring water because you don't get as much salty nastiness as you do with it being in brine, and because we're trying to be healthy there's no way we're using the one in sunflower oil because that's just rank. So what we're going to do is I'm going to drain this off and then we will be right back. Now that I've drained that tuna, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring the pan into shot so you can see what I'm doing. I've got a little bit of dairy-free flora. Use whatever butter or spread or a little bit of oil if you're using oil. Try not to use too much. And we just put that into the pan, into our frying pan. Let's see here. So I'm only looking about that. That's about half a tablespoon. So we're going to throw that into the pan. Just like that. In on top of that goes the onions, and we put that onto the heat just to soften those onions up and get the flavour into them. You don't want to add any salt or pepper at this stage. You're just softening up those onions on a low heat just until the butter's melted and those onions start to soften up. So I'm just going to put the flame on to a really low heat so you can see how low I'm talking about. I'm wanting it there, absolutely barely visible with the flame, just the lowest that your cooker will do. If it's electric, you want the lowest heat possible as well. So we're just going to sit that on there. No, that's a scratch. I thought that might have been a cat hair. That would have been disgusting. As you can see at the back there, we've just got the rice and that one egg is in there. I'm not going to stick my finger in, but he's right there. And just having that going, bubbling away, cooking that rice through. You can see the butter's just starting to melt here as well, which is what we want. So just give that a good stir around, making sure the butter does get all of the pan, because you don't want any dry patches on the pan, because then you'll start to burn your onions, and we don't want that because that's nasty. We're not trying to caramelise, we've not added sugar or anything like that, we are just trying to soften these onions up. Alright guys, so we've got this nicely softened down. You can see the colour change. The red's not as vibrant and that white is just now a dull yellowish tint. So this is nice and soft, so what we're going to do at this stage is I'm going to throw the broccoli in. Good old couple of handfuls of broccoli. In that goes. Make sure everything gets coated with that little bit of butter you've got in your pan. So it's going to give a nice shiny look to the broccoli at this stage. That will cook off, so you will be left with the flavour and less of the bad parts of it. But it's still in there obviously because the fat is what gives the flavour. Once we've got that softened down as well, what you can actually do at this stage is you can take it off the heat and put it to the side whilst you wait for your rice to catch up, which is what I'm probably going to do, and we'll be back once the rice is ready. Alright, so the rice is getting close to being cooked now, so I'm just going to put the heat back onto the frying pan. Again, nice and low. This is where we're going to add our tuna.
Cats are going to enjoy that. So with the tuna in, just make sure you flake it all out and give it a good mix, getting those vegetables and tuna well mixed throughout. You don't want to get a huge lump of kedgeree that's just vegetables or just tuna. You want a nice even blend all the way through. It's at this stage that I would add a little bit of cayenne pepper, because I like the taste of the cayenne as opposed to using curry powder. So you don't need a lot. This is where it normally goes wrong for me and I end up with quite a spicy one, but you don't need a lot. As you can see, just a little bit going in there. And then give that a good blend in, just to get that evenly mixed through as well. We're going to add a little bit of cayenne again a little bit later, so I just like to put a tiny bit in at this stage. So we're going to leave that on a low heat, probably lower than that, on a low heat whilst we go and drain the rice and crack open our hard-boiled egg. Perfect. So let's just give this a quick scoosh. That's ready for our rice now. Just pour the rice in on top. Get that blended round. Depending on how wet or dry it is at this stage, you may want to add a little bit of hot water just to keep it nice and moist. So this is a bit on the dry side. I'm just going to add a touch of hot water into there, not a lot. There we go. A little bit of hot water going in. Give that a stir around. It just puts some moisture back into the mix, giving you a really nice taste and flavour and consistency to what you're eating. Because if the consistency is too dry, you're not going to taste it and enjoy it. If it's too wet, again, it's just going to be slimy in your mouth, and you don't want that, because that's going to put you off tasting those beautiful flavours that we've got in here. You're probably sitting there wondering what's happening with the egg. So, the egg has been sliced up and is ready to go on. And you literally just put it on like so. Just let a little bit of the heat come through into it. You're not trying to stir it in at this point. You want your eggs just to sit on the top, just to get that heat in. They're already cooked. You're just wanting that little bit more heat in from when you've shelved them. This is where I like to throw a little bit more cayenne on, just over the top, like so. And to finish it off, I like a little bit of parsley on top. So some crushed parsley, just over the top, like that. And there you are, guys. You've got a wonderful kedgeree that's not curry powder, ready to serve. That'll feed, to be honest, that'll feed two. I normally do some of that, and I'll have some of that a little bit later on, which is easy enough to do because you just whack it in the microwave and zap it until it's dead, pretty much. But that beautiful dish ready to serve, which I'll just plate up. I tend to use a bowl when I'm doing kedgeree because the rice goes everywhere if it's on a plate. That's just me being a messy eater. So I'm just going to grab a good amount of rice. Have one. Get some rice with a bit of egg. Two. Another one of rice. And then one more with an egg. Hopefully. There we go. 3. Beautiful dish, ready to eat, perfect. Hopefully that steam doesn't kill the camera and you can actually see that's ready to eat. Beautiful healthy dish for you. You saw what went into it. There's no added preservatives or rubbish. The only thing that might have it in is whichever spread you used to put it in. Apart from that, everything perfectly healthy, perfectly happy, beautiful, wonderful dish. Hope you enjoy.
There we are, guys. Thanks for coming to visit me in my kitchen yet again. Beautiful kedgeree ready to eat for our dinners. So if you like the video, please hit that like button. It lets me know that you want me to continue doing some more of these videos. So thanks again for coming along, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. Brilliant. Goodbye.
Enjoy that. Looking forward to this in my amazing little dinner.